Welcome to Cottage Garden. In the following video, we will explain how to play a cottage garden so that you can leave the rules in the box. We will be showing you the setup and play for a 4-player game, but we'll also go into the differences of the 2- and 3-player games. As ambitious gardeners, you have the challenge before you of filling your flower beds to the brim with plants and garden features from an ever-changing selection in the nursery. Aside from the different greenery, you can also use flower pots, plant covers, and the help of your faithful cats to assist you in filling your flower beds. Game setup. Put the nursery in the middle of the table. It has 2 sides, one for 1 to 3 players and the other for 4 players. In this video, we are setting up the game for 4 players, so we'll be using that side. Place 1 flower bed with the light side up, all of the cats, the flower pots, the beehive tokens, and the parasol within easy reach of the nursery. Each player gets 1 planting table, on which each player places 3 blue and 3 orange colored scoring cubes on the starting spaces, 2 cats, as well as 2 flower beds, one with the light side up and the other with the dark side up, placed under their planting table. Playing with less than 4 players, the remaining flower beds will not be used. Randomly fill the nursery with 16 flower tiles. Each space will get exactly 1 tile. Place the remaining 20 flower tiles in a random queue next to the nursery. Place the wheelbarrow after it's been put together at the end of the flower tile queue. Every nursery needs its gardeners too. In this game, it's the green numbered die. With 1 or 2 players, set the gardener die to its 2 side. With 3 to 4 players, set it to the 1. Then place the die on the correct starting space on the nursery's border. Now we are just about ready to get started with gardening. Each player's move consists of 4 phases, which you can carry out in the following order. First comes the replenishment phase, where the nursery is refilled with flower tiles. Then, in the plant phase, you may either take a flower tile or a flower pot and place it in one of your flower beds. If one of your flower beds is completely planted, then a scoring phase follows, where you will move scoring cubes and eventually get bonuses. Finally, in the gardener phase, you advance the gardener 1 space, signifying it's the next player's turn. The gardener row. Let's quickly explain the gardener row in the nursery now so that we can then go into more detail about the turn phases. The gardener row is made up of the 4 nursery spaces in the row or column on which the gardener die currently sits. With 4 players, if the gardener sits on a corner space, the gardener row is the 4 diagonal nursery spaces stretching out from that corner. The replenishment phase. Through the course of the game, there will be times that all 4 spaces of the gardener row will no longer have flower tiles. Determine beforehand how many free spaces the gardener row has. If 3 or 4 spaces are empty, you replenish them at no cost. This is required and done by taking the first flower tile in front of the wheelbarrow and placing it on the first available space in the gardener row, which is the space closest to the gardener die. The wheelbarrow advances to the next flower tile in the queue. Repeat this process until all the spaces in the gardener row have been filled. Should only 1 or 2 spaces be empty in the gardener row, you could still replenish the row by giving up one of your cats, but you don't have to. The plant phase. The plant phase follows the replenishment phase. Take a flower tile for yourself from the gardener row and place it using the following rules in one of your 2 flower beds. You may flip, rotate, or turn the flower tile as you like. The flower tile may not extend out of your flower bed. Other flower tiles may not be fully or partially covered by this new tile. The same placement rules apply for cats or flower pot tiles. You may plant over the printed flower pots or plant covers on your flower beds, but you should avoid this when possible as they can bring you valuable points. Once a tile has been placed, it may not be moved. The space the flower tile came from in the nursery should not be filled. This only happens during the replenishment phase. Instead of taking a flower tile from the nursery, you could also place a flower pot from the general supply onto your flower bed. The placement rules for flower pots are the same as flower tiles. Additionally, you can also place one of your cats on a free square in your flower beds during your turn. You can also take a flower tile out of the nursery and test it out in one of your flower beds. Use the parasol in the nursery as a placeholder to help you return the flower tile to its original position when you're done testing. The scoring phase. If you have completed a flower bed in the plant phase, you score it now. First, count the visible flower pots on the flower bed and move an orange-colored scoring cube that number of spaces up on your flower pot score track. Then, count the visible plant covers on the flower bed and move a blue-colored scoring cube that number of spaces up on your plant cover score track. Each time you move a scoring cube, you may choose which of the 3 scoring cubes of the appropriate color you wish to use. You may not, however, share the move across several cubes. If you reach the 20-point space, any remaining moves are lost. Each time a scoring cube crosses the red line, the one with the mice, you immediately get a new cat from the general supply. As soon as all of your orange scoring cubes are moved from the starting spaces, you receive a bonus flower pot from the supply. This must immediately be placed following the placement rules. The same rule applies to your blue scoring cubes. The first player to get a scoring cube to the 20-point space receives the 2 beehive token. The next player to do this receives the 1 beehive token. A single player cannot receive both beehive tokens. After you've scored the flower bed, place all the cats and flower pots from it back into the general supply. Place the flower tiles from it at the end of the flower tile queue in any order you choose. Lastly, flip your scored flower bed to its other side and exchange it with the flower bed in the middle of the table. If you have more than 2 cats at the end of your turn, you must place the extras on empty spots in your flower beds or return them to the general supply. You may only have 2 cats in your supply at the end of your turn. Should you complete a flower bed in this way, score it as we just described. The gardener phase. At the end of your turn, advance the gardener die 1 field space on the track around the nursery. Should the die land on the starting space, increase its number by 1. If it shows the number 6, then the final round of the game begins. The final round. At the beginning of the final round, you must return all flower beds which have fewer than 3 flower tiles on them. Cats or flower pot markers do not count for this. Then, continue to play the game normally until the last flower beds are completed, with the following changes. At the start of your turn, if you still have a flower bed to complete, lose 2 points. It's up to you if you either move a blue cube back 1 space or an orange cube back 2. You may not share the movement between multiple cubes. Play the 4 phases of your turn as normal, but you will no longer receive a new flower bed in the scoring phase. If you no longer have any flower beds at the start of your turn, then you only complete the gardener phase, and you will not lose 2 points. End of the game and the winner. The game ends when all players have scored their flower beds. Each player adds their points together on the scoring track and receives an extra point if they have a beehive token. Whoever has the most points wins the game. In the case of a tie, the number of beehives on a player's beehive token decides the winner. For solo game rules, an overview of all the flower tiles, additional game details, and strategy tips, take a look at the printed rulebook. And now, whoever last pulled weeds goes first. Have fun gardening.